Pay that man his money.
Hey everybody, how you guys doing? Octavian coming back for episode number 43 of Price Check. Now, for those of you who've caught recent videos on my channel, you may be well aware that I've recently finished my Elder Loop. If you haven't seen that video, it was uploaded yesterday at the time of posting this one. But I believe it's titled something along the lines of How I Made My Elder Loop and Tips You Might Want, or something like that. Pretty easy to find. Just search through the channel, type in Elder Loop Octavian, probably it'll come up. As a result of that, though, I've got lots of Elder bases and some Shaper ones as well, because for those of you who don't know, on an Elder Loop, any of these Shaper-influenced maps are also perfectly safe to run. Actually, this configuration is quite stable, so you can run almost any map on the Atlas without interrupting it at all. And as a result, as I said, I've got lots of Shaper, lots of Elder bases to work with. And a fun little surprise for those of you at the end of the video who may not yet be aware of the Elder item recipe. For those of you who are, you know what's coming, but for those of you who aren't, it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun, at least. So let's sort through this. For those of you new to the series, we're going to be looking through a stash tab full of unidentified gear, trying to find something of worth, and I'm going to be giving my justification behind my decisions in terms of pricing things as we sort through it. So let's get started. This diamond ring is always a promising start. Diamond rings are definitely in softcore the base that I look out for the most as far as rings go. And I like to see strength, I like to see res, but I don't like to see a missing life roll, especially considering that crafted life on rings is not very high. This does have an open prefix. You could theoretically look to craft life on this, but I don't think that it's worthwhile given that it doesn't have any powerful damage mods, which really are what people might be looking for in softcore. A breach ring, as I've said in the past, kind of has to blow me out of the water in order to be worth selling. 70 life and a bit of flat fire and no res, no stats, no damage rolls aside from that flat fire doesn't really do that. What you're really looking for in one of these can be chaos resistance, since for people who farm Keula breaches, that can be really valuable. You can get up to like 60% chaos res out of a single slot because it's doubled in the breach. You're looking for life, for sure, like any other ring. Res, it has to be a good ring outside of breaches as well, if they're going to be wearing it all the time and not just swapping into it. And elemental damage of the tax can actually be really strong. Getting up to like 60 to 80% out of a single ring slot is pretty crazy. But usually Chaos Resist, I would actually say Chaos Resist is probably the highest priority on a breach ring outside of life and maybe res. Speaking of life and res, we only have one of those two here. The Fizz Leech as mana, or even as life, pardon me, can be nice, but an Amethyst Ring base is not a highly prioritized one. Dex is not a highly prioritized stats. The res are not very high, so that's just vendor food. Got a good wed roll. Really all this is going for it. Well, I say that. It's also got decent res, or a decent res, 30 plus, and some cold 2 attacks, though it isn't very high tier. I mean, for rings, actually, that's not bad. And it's a coral base. I don't think this is worth crafting life onto, though. Yeah, I don't think I can justify this. The accuracy is mediocre at best. The res as well is just about okay. The wed is really the only saving grace it's got. I don't think flat cold is super highly prioritized right now either. This had a higher life and maybe a res roll. I would consider corrupting it for +1 curse. Power amulet base is usually pretty good for that if you've got a decent roll on it otherwise, but nah. Siege Axe, you're pretty much exclusively looking for good fizz rolls, crit multi, attack speed, crit chance. And as I go through, I'm going to spend a lot of time on these first few items. As I go through, I'll start spending less and less time on each one so that I'm repeating myself less and the episode doesn't take, half an hour to an hour. Life, res, missing, no good damage rolls, bad base. 46 life, all res, cold res, some strength. Maybe really early in the league this could sell, but I doubt it now. Damage over time, fizz with one-handed, attack speed, dual wielding, damage with bleeding. Honestly, in a meta where bleeds are strong, this would be a good jewel. Sadly, bleeds aren't strong. They're pretty bad. But there might be a niche build out there that focuses on bleed and is trying to scale it and would really want this jewel, and it is a 4-prop for such a build that goes one-handed and dual wields. So yeah, I'll list it, but I don't really expect it to sell. I see a % fizz roll and some attack speed and a jeweled foil, and that immediately catches my attention. However, it's a T6% fizz roll, which isn't very good, even if the attack speed is rather nice. It's got hybrid accuracy, it's got damage with bleeding, those are both completely ignorable stats, and the LE damage doesn't really synergize with the fizz damage, so that's junk. Elder Gloves, what you're looking for here is, I found to be block chance. You can get higher attack speed than gloves normally can. That's pretty good. Other than that, you're looking for basically what you'd want on gloves anyways. I think Elder Gloves can also roll trap related supports, and for certain trapper builds that can be super strong. So keep an eye out for those, but we didn't get any of that here. Percent ES and a lot of res can be good if the percent ES roll wasn't 11%. So this goes up to, I believe, 22 on a natural roll, 20 on a crafted one. What level are you? You're level 72. Don't think I really want to craft on that. It's a little too low level. And just 1 LE damage to bow attacks roll, plus some pretty irrelevant trash is not what I want. Percent strength can be a nice one, but nothing else here jumps out at me. 40% fizz, some crit multi, but 40% fizz is really low. I do want to see fizz and crit multi though. But sadly the fizz roll is incredibly low, and that is killer. Murderous Agile of the Inferno, a little too low level, but it does have the Of the Inferno mod, which is a pretty rare one. You don't see that too often. I wish that had rolled with something a bit better than fire damage to axe attacks. I'm actually going to regal this. If I hit life, that plus fizz is extra fire, if you've dealt a crit recently, is actually worth something just by itself. It's a bit of a gamble. I don't think it's statistically profitable to regal this, but it's going to be, you know, I've got a bunch of regals lying around, and if I do hit it, hey, it's fun, so I'm going to nonetheless. It's a very, very low investment gamble that might pay off. We've got no life, no res, garbage damage stats, some stats, that's about it. Shaper Mace, so we're not going to be crafting on this as like a stat stick, it's not a scepter. It does have 7% pen, that's about it though, really. The added fire hybrid percent fizz can be nice if it's a good base. You know, I got that on a Shaper Touch jeweled foil once with some attack speed and I believe some crit multi, as well as room to craft a flat fizz roll, and I was able to sell that for 4x. So it can certainly be nice if it shows up in the right context, but this is definitely the wrong context. Eye level 81 Hypnotic Jewel. I think that's not really worth anything from the base, given what I've price checked in previous episodes. I don't really want to spend my alts rolling on Hypnotic Jewels either. I'd rather spend them on Searching or Murderous, as those are far more in the meta. Good flat ES roll, that's really all. Okay, flat ES roll, some spell damage, nothing really jumps out at me there. No life. We see some crit multi, that's really all on that amulet. Fire damage, attack speed, and some res. Really generic jewel. I don't think it's amazing though, but we can put it up for like 4C maybe. Crit multi, attack speed, staves, and damage. Again, pretty out of the meta, not a lot of staff builds out there, much to my own chagrin. I would love to play some staff builds, but they just don't exist. However, we'll put it up for like 4 or 5C, and we'll vendor that ring there. Okay. An interesting first inventory. Why didn't I vendor you? I guess I just didn't look at it, because that is not very good. Okey-doke. And as I said, we'll go ahead and regal that. Fizz damage reduction, more damage by a hit recently. I don't think that that's going to be worth anything, but we'll go ahead and pop it up for a bit, see if someone just really desperately wants that mod. And this can go up for 8, these can go up for 4. Because the fizz gained as extra mod is really, really strong. And so there might be someone out there just desperate to get it who would pay me something for it. But I'm unconvinced. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Hopefully enough wisdom scrolls to cover them all. And for anybody who's new to the series and wants to see where all the loot comes from, you can of course always follow me on Twitch. I stream there every day, and that's where all of this and much, much, much more ends up coming from. Crit multi if you've killed recently in ES. I would have loved to see a life roll instead, but ES can still be useful for some builds. Howa comes to mind, as often it does. Don't see a lot of people playing it, but it is still fairly well played. It's a bit niche though. And they do want crit multi. There might be some other builds out there as well. Maybe some, you know, hybrid trickster using escape artist. So I think we can list this for a bit. We'll let it sit, see if it makes me any money. The rest of these are garbage for the most part. No life, no res, and pretty much all of those. That's got plus 1 ES and 12 mana gained on kill. It would have had to work real hard in the other rolls to be worth something. Which it certainly didn't. Yeah, no. Junk, plus 5 life. percent strength, some life, some chaos res. Goodbye. Slower proj, faster casting. You know, you got potential there if the gloves were decent otherwise. You can definitely use those together. You know, you can... Faster casting, not an ideal support, but you could do some sort of ball lightning thing with these. That, like, slower proj. Sure, there's plenty of other spell setups that could take advantage of both of those, but the rest of the gloves are junk. No life, no res, nothing like that. Also, the fact that that faster casting is rolled up with some cast speed and the slower proj rolled up with some proj damage, those are both good effects for a lot of builds, so could be pretty good. 26 flat life. Plus 1 mana gained on kill, 13% rarity. Trash. Very, very, very trash. Rarity is also a stat you can ignore most of the time. We've got accuracy, a decent roll on it. In all attribute base, the strength's kind of irrelevant, I'd say, at that value. 78 life, though it is an okay total amount of strength. It's, what, 30 odd? Yeah, 32. And 16 all res, and that has room for plenty of crafts. Well, room for prefixes. I thought it had an open suffix as well. No, obviously it doesn't. Strength roll is there. That strength roll is really unfortunate, actually. But yeah, that's a fine amulet. We can definitely sell that. Demon Dagger, only eye level 78. Demon Dagger is not the best base. People are going to be looking for Chris bases, I should say. So platinum or golden Chris. It did get some crit chance for spells, but the rest of it's pretty garbage. Attack speed, two-handed, multi with lightning skills. Damage over time does not seem very synergistic. One-handed, crit chance while dual-wielding proj damage. I mean, you can think of some builds that could use all those stats, such as dual-wielding spectral throw crit, but are they really going to be out there buying that at the moment in the meta? I don't think so. T5% fizz, T3 flat does not scream to me, sell me, that's for sure. 7 life, no movement speed, no life. Okay res, but no movement speed, no life. Just absolutely nothing of redeeming value there. We've got a lot of strength, a lot of life overall, but I don't think that's enough to sell an amulet off of nowadays, this far into the league. 69 life, just garbage, and garbage as well. And what are you? Multi. So we're going to hold on to this. I'm going to show you guys why. For anybody who's not familiar with this recipe, give me a moment here. This amulet I think will start at like 8C. Seems reasonable. But for anybody who's not familiar with this recipe, you may recognize this right here as being the gear required for a chaos recipe set. However, it's all got tentacles on it. So if you do this and gather up everything you would need for a chaos recipe set, which is 1 piece of gear from every slot on your character. So helmet, boots, gloves, chest piece, 2 weapons or a 2-handed weapon, or a bow, which is a 2-handed weapon, belt, ring, amulet, you'll get 2 exalted shards, 4 if it's unidentified. I like to identify it though because I like to price check things, like that's why I make this series. But this is still a recipe that I've been able to do a good few times now since setting up my Elder Loop. It's a 1/10 of an exalt, with exalts being as high priced as they are right now. That's a good amount of money. You know, it's almost 10 chaos. Though certain Elder bases can be worth more than that. And I'm actually not going to do this recipe. So this serves as both a example that you could do it, and a warning against when you shouldn't. Because a 1/10 of an exalt right now is maybe 10 chaos if you round up. And this ring here, this eye level 82 Elder Touched Coral ring, is about 10 chaos. So yeah, don't just blindly do this recipe. A lot of bases can be worth more than the recipe's result. However, it is certainly something to be aware of. If I were to get another gold ring, for instance, I would throw it right into the recipe and do it immediately, because the rest of these bases are worthless. But I will take this Elder Touched ring, throw it up for 10C, and we'll just run content until another ring drops that can be used in that recipe, basically. And what I do is most days I end up with enough of the other bases that I need outside of jewelry that I just save the jewelry, and then once I have enough jewelry for a set, I just throw some other bases at it and do the set. I don't really know whether it's worth it yet. I haven't like done a full cost benefit analysis or anything. Probably won't. But it's fun. It only does work within either Elder or Shaper bases. You cannot mix them. So you can do that with full Shaper bases or with full Elder bases. Just FYI. And I run more Elder content than Shaper, which is why I usually do it with Elder bases. Let's see if we got anything else here of worth. We've got some good attack speed on that, but otherwise nothing else. Was really hoping for a life roll at the very least there. 29 wed, some res, a good res roll. T1 res. Mana, but no life. Bad base. I think it's just vendor food. 50 int, the only thing that stands out to me there. That is an eye level 81 Murderous-Eye Jewel with a life roll on it, so let's aug that. Some flat chaos dispels, not worth that much, honestly, by itself. And level 20 Immolate, also not worth that much by itself. And the helmet was otherwise not very stellar, so let's go ahead and aug this and hopefully get something good enough to be worth regaling. Some flat fizz to attacks, that's actually pretty good, yeah. 16 int, I guess that could help the right build fill out some stats, so flat fizz is valuable enough that I'll go ahead and list that. Alright, well, that's going to be the end of today's episode. I hope I taught you guys a thing or two. I hope that I see you in the next episode as well, and I hope maybe to see you on stream sometime. I do stream every day, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will see you guys either there or in the next episode. Have a good one, and thanks for watching.